Changing minds one thought at a time.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Jessica, and I'm here with Dr. Aikyna. Good morning, Dr. Aikyna.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I just wanted to thank all of our listeners for calling in this morning, and we have some exciting news. So we are now on Podomatic and iTunes, so that is super exciting, and thank you, Dr. Aikyna, for setting that up for us this week. And we just want to really thank all of our listeners. We are so grateful for all the support that we have been getting as we've launched this new series, Changing Minds Online, and welcome to our show today. So last week, we decided to talk today a little bit about purpose. What drives us to accomplish our goals? What drives us to create? And Aikyna, I wanted to ask you, just to start this off, what is purpose to you?
Purpose to me is when I am doing what I'm supposed to do naturally from the spirit. Basically, when I know that I'm doing my purpose is when whatever it is I'm doing is not work, it's pleasure. So, and it's my passion. So in my case, mine is education, and I am a dean, and I'm also a faculty member. So when I'm teaching my students or when I'm working with my faculty, I'm at my best because that is what I'm purposed to do. What about you, Jessica?
Very good. I love that. And I like how you said that's what you are supposed to be doing. And now I'm actually looking right now on dictionary.com, and they have 5 definitions of purpose. And I want to read them because I think sometimes it's really good when we're thinking about things to just go back to what the word actually means. And it says, number 1, the reason for which something exists or is done. Number 2, it says an intended or desired result, an aim, a goal. And 3 I love. I think it's so important. It says determination and resoluteness. And 4 says the subject in hand. And 5 says a practical result, effect for an advantage. And to me, I think a purpose for me is really a combination of number 2 and 3. It's a determination. It's being resolute to make an end goal be true for you. And to me, that's a purpose. And I think that, it's important to really understand that everyone's purpose can be different, and everyone's purpose is not the same. Some people are very, very motivated by service. They want to help others. You mentioned that, your purpose is to educate others, that you love to do that you take pleasure and you grow and you benefit as a person when you see that you're passing on education to others. I think that's really awesome that your purpose is service-oriented. Other people are motivated by acquiring money. They want to have the glamorous life. They want to be able to have whatever designer clothes are coming out, and they want to have the latest car. That is fine. That's not my purpose. That's not what motivates me. But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. My purpose is freedom. My purpose is choice. I want to have the freedom and the power to choose to do whatever I want to do. Now, part of that actually does include financial freedom, because in order to have choice, you need to be able to have the resources. So yes, and you can say to an extent I am driven by, the desire to have some external resources. But I think it goes a little bit beyond that. And it really just comes out to me just really being able to create whatever I want. I don't want to be limited. I want to have really any and all options of what I'm trying to do. But for me, I really think that purpose, the idea that determination and resoluteness plays a very large role in us creating and us finding our purpose. Because when you have actually found your purpose, then you maintain that. You maintain every step that you take, every action you take is really taking you closer to your goals. And I think that's really how you know you found your purpose. What do you think Dr. Aikyna, how do you know, or if our listeners might say to you, well, I think I kind of know why I'm doing something. I think it's because I want this. I think it's because I want that. How would you tell them, you know what, how would you know you found your purpose, or how do you find your purpose?
Well, when I was on the search for my purpose, I always had, whenever I was doing a job or what have you, I always had a longing for the next best thing and what was coming next. This was just a stepping stone to take me to my next step. But when I became an educator, that's when I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't picture myself doing anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. That's when I knew that I was where I was supposed to be. All I wanted to do was go up. I was all about the upward mobility of the education. I wasn't looking for another stepping stone. What I was doing was not a stepping stone. It was building to my next potential, and it's slightly different. When I was doing, let's say when I was doing leasing per se, I knew that this was skills that was going to help me in my purpose. When I was doing electronics, I knew that was skills that would help me in my purpose. So now that I'm an educator, I use technology all the time. I also talk and do lectures all the time. I do webinars. I market my university. So all the things I learned in my past job help me in my purpose, which I do now, and I am prepared for all the things that come my way. And that's the difference in my purpose.
I love that. So now I think that what you said really makes a lot of sense. And something you said is that you couldn't do anything else. And I think that when you find your purpose, nothing else matters. And I'd like to give you a little story about it. For me, actually just about a year ago, I actually had a small grease fire in my apartment. I had been making some French fries, and I thought I had turned off the gas, and the oil was sitting there on the stove. And apparently the gas had been on just a very, very small amount. And over, it was maybe after 20, 30 minutes, the oil had heated up enough to the point that the oil caught on fire. Now, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the stove, and all of a sudden I had a purpose. My purpose was to put out the fire. Nothing else at that moment mattered. And all I was thinking was, I need to put this fire out because I have pets. And if I don't, and if I leave this apartment, and if I don't put out this fire, my pets are going to die. My pets won't survive. And at that moment, I didn't care about anything else. If my phone would have rang, if my favorite song would have come onto the radio station, nothing else would have mattered. I had 100% focus and intent on putting out the fire. And thankfully, I had good planning, and I had first I tried to just cover the fire. Anyone who cooks knows, typically, if you have a grease fire, you want to just cover it, and it'll go out. But it wasn't working. I tried to find a cover for the pan, and the pan just didn't work. I put the cover on. Somehow air was still getting in there. I had oil splash up and come to my arm, and I had now I'm looking at my arm, and my arm is injured, and it didn't matter. Nothing else mattered. I needed to continue on my purpose of putting out the fire. Luckily, like I said, I had good planning, so I had a fire extinguisher. So I went out, and I went under the sink, and I grabbed the fire extinguisher, and I put out the fire. And in that moment, I realized that nothing else mattered. No matter what else would have gone on. I could not, it didn't matter, like I said, what came on TV, what song came on the radio, who called me, what called me. It didn't matter if my favorite celebrity walked into my apartment. I was focused on achieving my goal. And, even this weekend, I ran a half marathon in the city, the More Fitness Women's Half Marathon. And that was my very first time ever running that distance. I have run before. As many of my listeners know, I am a runner, but it was my first time hitting that mile mark. And at 10 miles, it became really hard, especially I was lapping Central Park, 2 laps. And when you hit mile 9 and when you hit mile 11, you have these two really big hills. They go on for quite a long time. They're very large hills. And once I got up over that first hill, now I'm almost done with the race. And I'm on mile 10, and all I'm just thinking is, oh, my goodness, like, this part is easy, but I know it's going to get hard again. I know it's going to get hard. And the sole thing I was focusing on was crossing that finish line. And that's really what a purpose is. It's when there is nothing else that matters. If there is something that is driving you to achieve an end result. And when you actually find that purpose, you focus only on that. You know, and we've had this before, like if you are determined to create something, every action that you take needs to take you closer to achieving that goal. And there's really just two options. And there's something you do is achieve that goal, or something you do is taking you away from that goal. And if you say, I want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you say, I want to be a successful athlete, if you want to be a successful singer or musician, you know, it takes practice, it takes time, it takes dedication. And if that desire is enough, if the purpose is worth it to you, then you will put in the time, you will put in the effort, you will put in the hours. If I wanted to cross that finish line, well, it just wasn't about finding the internal motivation at mile 11. It was about waking up at 5 o'clock every morning before work and going for a run. And that's really what purpose is. It says, you know what, I want this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Nothing can stop me. Nothing's going to get in the way. And I'm going to take the actions it takes. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm deliberately going to choose to get there because this is my purpose. This is what I want. This is what I'm creating, and I am resolute. I am determined it is going to happen. And that's what I really think that is so important to understand. And I said in the beginning, every one of us has a different purpose. And there is nothing wrong with the fact that every one of us, it has something different that motivates us. But we have to really understand that we have to look hard and find what our purpose really is. Sometimes if we think we just come up with our purpose right away, you know, it may not be real. And when it's not real, when it gets hard, it's not going to happen. Right? If my purpose in crossing the finish line at mile 13 was to get the runner's medal, well, you know what? Chances are at mile 10, when I just was exhausted after running for, you know, an hour and 45 minutes at that point and having just gone up a big hill and knowing there was another hill, I would have said, forget it. It's not worth it. I can get it off of eBay. I can go to Oriental Tradings and I can get a medal and write on myself, congratulations, you crossed. Right? The medal itself was not what motivated me. So the material things alone was not what motivated me. You know, yes, it's great. I love being cheered on by the people who are standing at the finish line and standing along the race with the bells and the funny signs. And, you know, there's this one sign that I just have to kind of shout out because I think it said, you guys run better than the government does, and no comments on politics. But, you know, that's my purpose. If reading those signs and listening to the cheers are my purpose, you know what? I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have been able to make it because it was a very demanding task. But my purpose was that I wanted to know and to share with other people that, you know what, anything you want can be true. You know, and I've said specific to running that in my life I have been told you shouldn't run. I have a neurological disorder, and my doctors have told me you're not going to be able to do this. And I don't believe that. My purpose is I know I want the ability to create and to choose anything that I want. And more than that, I want to share with others, and I want to teach others, you know what, you can do it too. Anything that you want to create, you can. You don't have to listen to other people tell you what you can or what you cannot do. It is your choice. And that choice and that power to share that choice motivates me. That's what my purpose is. And, you know, I think it's important when you're really looking at a service-oriented purpose. And, you know, in many ways, both of us, you know, do have service-oriented purposes. You know, I said my purpose is to share and teach, just like you, but to teach others that, you know, they want. And you said your purpose is to share and teach others through education that they can have the careers that they want and teach them the steps they need to take to get there. Well, that's amazing. But, you know, when people's purpose is only service-oriented, you wind up having that same purpose, the same problem, as when, you're just running for that medal across the finish line. And that's when it gets hard and you're really only outside, then you're not going to keep going. It's like there's going to be a point, there's going to be an extent where something just becomes not worth it anymore. And let's say, I have this organization called HOP. It stands for Helping Out People. And we pass out sandwiches to people in your city who are currently homeless or find themselves unable to eat or food. And we pass out food and sandwiches, and we pass out clothes and whatever people need. But if someone were to say to us, you know what, we want you guys to get on a plane and we want you to go to do this, in, let's say, another country or another part of this country, and all of a sudden now we have this time, well, you know what, now we were giving up a couple hours, Saturday mornings or a couple hours after church. Now it's like, okay, well, now it's talking about giving up a week. And then it's like, okay, but you know what, and we were talking about us each pitching in $20, $30 to buy some clothes and food, but now we're talking about us each paying a couple $1,000 to purchase a plane ticket and hotels and everything that goes with it. And we're going to say, you know what, we really want to help people out, but we're not really willing to go there. But when you actually find your purpose, you are willing to do anything and everything it takes to make it happen. So if you haven't found that one thing that says, you know what, it doesn't matter, I'm going to do everything it takes to get there. Like I said, there's only two types of actions, one that takes you closer and one that takes you further away. If you have a purpose, you don't sit on your phone and play Candy Crush for 2 hours. You don't sit home on after night. You get home from work, you don't go home and sit on the couch and watch reruns of Sex and the City for 7 hours. You just don't do that. When you have a purpose, you say, what can I do at this moment in time to make my dreams come true? And it's your purpose. It motivates you. And for me, that's really what purpose is. And what do you think about that, Dr. Aikyna?
I agree. Once you get the purpose, you have to stay on the focus. And as long as your focus is strong and correct, you're going to be able to do anything. Yes, it's going to get hard. Everything does, but like they say, there's no testimony without a test. It's only going to make you stronger in your purpose, and your focus is going to get stronger as you go through the test. So don't worry about the test. Just keep going towards the goal, which is your purpose, what you are meant to do on this planet. If you are meant to serve, then serve. If you are meant to lead, then lead. If you're meant to share, then share. Do what you're meant to do. And you will feel like you're not doing anything but pleasurable things, because that is what your purpose to do. You don't have to worry about all the rest of the naysayers and the hard times, because you'll be lifted up every time you do what you're supposed to do in your purpose. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like what you said that says, don't worry about what other people say, and don't worry about when it seems like it's getting hard. And I think that's a really common problem that people run into. And I know I run into it all the time, is you have your moments of doubt when it says, you know what, can I really do this? I know this is what I want, but can I do it? And then it says, am I worthy of this? And am I, whether, is this something that God's going to let me do? Is this a blessing I'm allowed to have? Is this a responsibility I'm worth taking on? And sometimes, it becomes very difficult because our friends, our family will say, oh, y'all can't do that. Yeah, crazy. What do you think? And you think you can do that? And we say, yes, I can. And then enough times people say, you can't do that. And we say, maybe I can't. And we have to just remember all the time that, we have to hold on to our purpose. And we have to really take steps to realize that it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And so many people fall off on the wayside. And, so many people start off and they start so strong, but they don't make it. And let's just talk about, running races. There were 10,000 people at that Moore Half Marathon this weekend. Well, guess what? Not everyone crossed the finish line. At mile 1, mostly everybody was still probably there. And at mile 2, there was probably mostly everybody still there. And, when you hit mile 5, I bet a few people dropped out. As a matter of fact, I saw people dropping out. And I saw a lot of people already, you're not even halfway there. And they were sitting on the sidelines because it was hot. It was the first day in New York City, and that was hot. It was 75 degrees outside. And there were a lot of people who weren't dressed appropriately, and they just sat on the sidelines, and they were fanning themselves, and they were drinking water, and they weren't prepared, and they said, you know what, I can't do this. But there were people that kept going, and you got to mile 8, and you know what, there were even more people that you saw that were not finishing the race. Some people maybe got injured and couldn't run anymore. Some people were tired. Some people weren't trained adequately and knew that, you know what, if they continued, they were going to be having a problem. And when you got to mile 13, not everyone was there. Not everyone who started finished. And that's how it is, not only in a race, but that's how it is in life, is we all have a purpose. We all have a motivation, and we all have a dream. And some of us, it's when we were a kid that, we wanted something so much more. Try to remember, what was it like as a child? What is the one thing you always wanted to do and wanted to be, and why aren't you doing it? Maybe your purpose changed, but maybe you just stopped believing. Maybe somewhere along the line there was that one too many people, that one temperature too much that said, I can't do this, I can't cross this finish line, I have to stop. And that's where we have to go back and say, you know what, I know it can be hard, and I know there's going to be times when there's going to be doubt. But you know what, if I focus on my purpose, it won't matter. It won't matter who tells me I can or can't do it. Someone said to me the other day, if people aren't telling you that you can't do it, then you don't really have a purpose, that you're really not reaching your life. And someone said to me, Jess, how many people a day tell you that you can't do it, that your dreams can't come true? And I said, well, no one. And she said, what do you mean no one? She said, if no one tells you that you're not, that you can't do it, if there's no naysayers, as you said, well, then you're not dreaming big enough. I said, I'm not dreaming big enough. I'm almost done with my second master's now, and I said, and I have my own company, and I launched this new podcast division, and I'm coming out with books, which, Dr. Aikyna and I are going to be coming out with this fall. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, I have a neurologic disability, and I'm running the marathon this fall, and I want to do CrossFit competition. I said, I am reaching big. I said, I'm not reaching too small. I said, I'm reaching. And she said, well, but then why aren't people just telling you can't do it? And I said, I don't know. I said, maybe because they're scared because I lift too many weights. I said, I don't know what it is. And she said, well, you think about it. And it dawned on me, okay, I'm going to try and find out. And once I actually realized, I said, I realized, wow, people do tell me. They tell me every day, what you can't do, but it doesn't register because my purpose is more. And I never even heard those voices because my purpose, my voice, the voice inside of me that you can, yes, I will, yes, I am, and I'm doing it because I want to. That registered so much more to me than everyone who said no. So when I heard no, I didn't hear it. It didn't register. It didn't matter because I have a purpose. And you know what? It's going to be hard, and things are going to things are going to happen. You're going to have setbacks. People are going to tell you you're going to fail, but you cannot let that get in your way. And if you have a purpose, it will not get in your way.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. That reminds me of when I was getting my doctorate, and everyone would tell me, oh, you sure you want to do this? If you wasn't this far along in the program, I would have told you don't do it. And what I realized is they had learned me. I'm the type of person that if you tell me no, I'm going to spin out of control. I am going to make it happen no matter what you say. And my teachers had learned that about me, and so all they had to do was say one little comment, and next thing I know, I was getting A's on papers, and I was actually the first person that my mentor had ever mentored that published before they got their doctorate degree. And so I was changing things, and I was moving things, and they wasn't expecting this 5'1" African-American lady to be the first person to publish before they were even in our cohort, before they'd even got their doctorate degree. They weren't expecting me to be the one, but I was the one, and I kept going. And now that same person that they told would never get a doctorate or should have never been a doctor is now a assistant dean of faculty for a university, 2 steps away from the president. So I have nothing to say but keep going. Make your purpose happen. You are your only obstacle. Be like Jessica. Don't hear the naysayers. See the potential. See the light at the end of the tunnel. See the goal. None of those naysayers can stop you from doing nothing. They don't put food on your table or clothes on your back. They are there to be obstacles so that you can have some testimony after the test. That's all they're there for. Don't worry about them. Make it happen.
And, if we could just kind of close with one last thought on what purpose is, this is what I would say. I believe that God has a plan for each and every one of us to live into. And he gives us this beautiful power of choice to really choose what to live into and to choose what that looks like for us. So you know what? Think about it. Look inside yourself. Sit quietly for a moment and pray and look inside of you and say, what is it that I am supposed to do? And when you figure out what that is, I want you to write it down. I want you to write it down, and I want you to put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day. And I have that, and I have it right on my desk on the frame, right on my dresser on the frame. So when I wake up in the morning, it's right next to where I charge my phone and where I turn off my alarm. So it's the first thing that I see. And my purpose says, I have the ability to choose to do whatever I want and create whatever my heart desires today. And that's my purpose. And I see it every day. And I want you, just for 24 hours, to take deliberate steps to make it happen. And what I want you to do is not only take those steps to make it happen, because, doing it 24 hours, your dream's not going to come true. But what I want you to do is consciously, for 24 hours, be aware of everything that you do, every action you take. And I want you to examine, is it taking me closer, or is it taking me further away from that being true? And be honest with yourself. And if you realize, if you come to the realization, you know what, I may say that this is my purpose, but I woke up this morning and I went on Facebook and I was reading these crazy gossips about things that are not taking me to my goals. You know what? Your purpose isn't going to happen. And then if, you say, okay, you know what, I really wanted to, I really want to be an athlete and I really want to have a success and I want to be healthy and I want to be fit, and you stop at McDonald's on the way to work, and you have I don't even know what sandwiches they have anymore at McDonald's. I think Big Muffin or something with coffee and that fried potato thing that comes with it. If you're eating that on the way to work and you say you want to be an athlete, you know what? It's not going to be happening. That's not taking you to your goals. And let's say you get to work and you start gossiping with your coworkers. No. So be aware. Am I actually doing what I need to do to make what I say I'm going to be true? And that I kind of want to close for today. And I want you to leave you with that thought. And I would urge you to go onto our website, go onto our Facebook page. It's Changing Minds Online. You can find us on Facebook on Changing Minds Online, and share with us if you are willing to and you're willing to really put yourself out there. Share with us, what did you find out, and you thought about that for the next 24 hours, 48 hours. So thank you, Dr. Aikyna, for the call today. Thank you, everyone who's listening in on all over the world and who's called into the call today. For our listeners on Podomatic and on iTunes and on Blog Chat Radio on YouTube, we are now in all four places, so look for us there. Thank you, everyone. God bless, and have a wonderful day.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.